You know, deep in the rivers and streams of Connecticut, a quiet crisis has been unfolding. To solve it, the state has launched this really ambitious rescue plan for one of its most vital and vulnerable residents, the wild trout. And this isn't just about fishing, believe me. It's a story about the health of an entire ecosystem.
Here's the best way to think about it. Wild trout are the ultimate indicator species. Their presence, their health, their numbers, they tell us exactly how our rivers and streams are doing. So you can think of them, and this is no exaggeration, as a river's report card.
Okay, so if these fish are the grade, what's Connecticut's score looking like? Well, let's just say the latest results were not great. In fact, they were alarming enough to demand some serious, urgent action.
But before we jump into the rescue plan itself, we really need to understand why this one small fish is such a massive deal. What is it that makes them so incredibly important?
First off, a wild trout? That's not just any old fish you find in the water. These are fish that are born and raised right there in their natural environment, not in some hatchery. And they're super sensitive. They need cold, clean, highly oxygenated water just to survive. So if you find a thriving population of wild trout, you've basically found a 5-star review for that ecosystem. They're the ultimate environmental critics.
Now here's where the story gets really interesting, because you've got two main characters. On one side, you have the native brook trout, Connecticut's original superstar. It's beautiful, but it needs those picture-perfect, pristine conditions. And on the other side, you've got the non-native brown trout, which was introduced way back in the 1800s. They're tougher, they can handle warmer water, and they can grow bigger. But that toughness means they often outcompete and push out our native brookies.
So you've got this tension between the species, right? Combine that with centuries of environmental change and, well, you've got a serious problem. Let's look at the data, because the numbers really tell the story here.
And look, this problem didn't just pop up overnight. The trouble started way back in the 1700s with dams and deforestation. But the real uh-oh moment for this story came when we compared the first big survey from the late 80s and early 90s to a follow-up done just a few years ago. That resurvey is when the alarm bells really started ringing. And this is why. -36%. Let that sink in. Between those two surveys, the number of places you could find Connecticut's native wild brook trout just tanked by more than a third in just a couple of decades. That is a massive, staggering loss.
And it wasn't just that the fish were disappearing from whole streams. Even in the places they managed to hang on, their population densities were way, way down. The culprits? No big surprise here. Constant pressure from development and a changing climate, which both threaten the cold, clean water these fish absolutely have to have.
Okay, so that's the bad news. But here's the good news. That shocking data, it lit a fire under people. It led to the creation of this really comprehensive, science-based plan to turn things around.
And you know, this wasn't just some plan cooked up in a back room. As Deputy Commissioner Mason Trumbull says here, it was built with public input. It's a team effort to protect these fisheries for generations to come, which is just a powerful mission.
The whole thing really boils down to two core ideas. First, sustainability. Protecting the fish and their habitat and teaching everyone why it's so important. And second, recreational fishing, making sure people can responsibly enjoy this incredible resource. It's a perfect loop, right? You get people out there enjoying the resource, and they become its biggest defenders.
And holding up these two big themes are 4 clear, super actionable pillars. 1, rebuild their homes. 2, protect the fish we still have. 3, bring them back to where they've disappeared. And 4, get everybody in on it. Simple, powerful, and it just makes sense.
Okay, so that's the big picture. But what does this stuff actually look like on the ground? Let's dive in and take a closer look at the actual strategy Connecticut's rolling out.
All right, Pillar 1. And this is ground zero, really. You can't have healthy fish if they don't have a healthy place to live. It is all about their home, their habitat.
So what are they actually doing? Well, they're creating these incredible, detailed maps to pinpoint the most important areas. They're protecting land along the rivers. And they're fixing things like those culverts, the pipes that go under roads, that can totally block fish from getting where they need to go. It's about protecting what's good and fixing what's broken.
So, once you've got the homes secured, what's next? You've got to protect the fish themselves. And that's where Pillar 2 comes in, focusing on smart, science-based management of the populations. And this is where some seriously cool science kicks in. They're using this tool called environmental DNA, or eDNA for short. Basically, they can just test a water sample and tell if trout are there from the little bits of genetic material they leave behind, without ever having to see a single fish. How cool is that? They're also taking a hard look at hatchery stocking to make sure it's not hurting the wild fish, protecting the unique genetics of those native brook trout.
All right, on to the final two pillars, restore and educate. And these two are totally intertwined. Because, think about it, bringing fish back to a stream is amazing, but it's only half the job. You also have to bring the community back to that stream, building a connection that guarantees it'll be protected for the long haul.
And the actions here are just awesome. They're so tangible. They're figuring out exactly how to reintroduce trout to streams where they've been gone for years. They're creating a public story map so you can follow along. They're backing amazing programs like Trout in the Classroom that let kids raise fish right in their school. And they're even pushing to make the native brook trout the official state freshwater fish. I mean, that's a powerful statement of its importance.
Okay, so we've got the problem. We've got the plan. But you might be thinking, I don't even fish. Why should I care about any of this? And that is a great question, because the answer goes way, way beyond the riverbank.
This is where you see how saving one little fish actually helps everybody. All the things you have to do to save wild trout, protecting forests, making sure runoff is clean, keeping rivers healthy, well, that means healthier ecosystems for all the other animals, it means cleaner water for us to drink, and it means we're protecting this incredible natural heritage for our kids and grandkids.
So in the end, it really all comes down to this one simple, powerful truth. The health of the wild trout is the health of our water. Their fate is linked to our own. Their future truly is our future.
The plan itself says it perfectly. The presence of wild trout is tangible proof of a system in perfect alignment. And really, that's the ultimate goal here, isn't it? Not just to save a fish, but to restore a piece of that perfect alignment for the benefit of all of us.